And now I'm going to hand over to Dovile herself, who is, if you don't know her already, Dovile, and you have the longest surname of anybody here. I'll do my best. Matuleviciute. Dovile Matuleviciute, the policy officer responsible for legal affairs at the Luxembourg Space Agency. Dovile.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Lisa, for this wonderful introduction, and you pronounced my surname very well. So
I had good teacher.
It was your biggest challenge in this session, I believe. So can I have my slides? Thank you. So building on the previous presentation given by Professor Freeland and Mr. Andrzej Misztal on the recent developments regarding the international discussions on the future framework for space resources activities, I will talk about the Hague International Space Resources Governance Working Group and specifically how the building blocks address the question of the data and information sharing. As Matthias mentioned during his introductory remarks and in the previous presentations, space resources activities present some serious legal and regulatory challenges. There is a need of national legal and international frameworks to regulate these activities involving not only the governments, but also private actors, and the framework which would assure or promote sustainable and responsible activities. So at a national level, in parallel of working on specific legislation and also supporting the discussions within the international fora, UNCOPOS and similar, we also actively supported and participated in the multi-stakeholder discussions of the Hague Working Group. The objective of the work was to explore the need and forms of an international framework for the space resources activities and to prepare some groundwork for which could potentially be used by more formal forums such as United Nations Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. In many regards, this working group was complementary to the efforts at the national, regional, and international levels. And the working group was hosted by a consortium of organizations from each continent. So we had Leiden University, International Institute of Air and Space Law in the Netherlands, Catholic University of Santos in Brazil, Indonesian Center for Air and Space Law, Secure World Foundation, University of Cape Town, University of Luxembourg, Nishimura Institute of Advanced Legal Studies in Japan, and 9 to the 9th Plus Foundation in the US. The big advantage of the working group was that it involved major stakeholders from the governments, from the industry, space agencies, universities, civil society, NGOs in a very inclusive and open manner. In November 2019, after 4 years of work, the working group adopted 20 building blocks for the development of an international framework on space resources activities. And those 20 building blocks included various provisions that could potentially be used in the future during more formal discussions. So my goal today is to look at the building blocks from data sharing and perspective. Access to the data and data products will be an important element in the future discussions, and it will appear in the discussions from very early phases, such as prospection or even mission planning. We have a specific building block which considers appropriate registration and sharing of information through different mechanisms and actions designed to foster transparency and confidence building among operators, states, and international organizations. This provision aims to ensure the highest possible degree of international cooperation in the utilization of space resources. So accordingly, this building block addresses 6 different situations. So registration of priority rights to search and recover space resources, advanced notification of activities with particular focus on the eventual establishment of any area-based safety measures, registration of space objects, notification of used frequencies, sharing of information and best practices on authorization and supervision of these specific activities, and the last notification of termination of space resources activities, with a particular focus on the material consequences left behind in their area of interest. So the registration of priority rights is related to the building block dedicated to institutional arrangements and provides for the establishment and maintenance of a publicly available international registry for priority rights. The rationale for registering the priority rights comes from the necessity to avoid potential conflicts that could arise in the absence of a more formal registration procedure for priority rights to search and recover space resources. The advanced notification of space resources activities with particular focus on establishment of any area-based safety measures is deemed to be necessary to ensure safety and avoid any harmful interference with relevant space resources activities. This part is also linked to the establishment and maintenance of international database, which in addition to the international registry, for making publicly available notifications of all relevant information about ongoing missions. Sharing of information and best practices refer to the practical details of the relevant space resource activity, together with eventual phenomena discovered in outer space and harmful impacts resulting from the mission. Its justification is to foster the situational awareness of space resources activities through the collection of relevant information coming from ongoing missions. The distinction between a register and a database is an important one. While the register is composed of formal or officially systematic recordings of items, the database is a collection of data organized in the way which makes it easy to search and retrieve. Therefore, each instrument is designed to fit a particular objective. To conclude my presentation, data and information sharing shall be done in accordance with some basic principles, which are also addressed in the building blocks, such as contributing to the sustainable development, prevention of disputes, taking into account the needs of science and developing countries. The building blocks also underline that the contribution from pioneer operators shall be taken into particular account, which would also apply to the specific data sharing, data or information sharing. So in short, building blocks focus on data sharing to the extent necessary to assure the security, safety of operations, non-interference principle, and of course, avoidance of conflicts. So with this, thank you for your attention, and I hand over to Lisa.
Thank you so much, Dovile. And just to kind of push you on, don't forget to ask questions via the chat. I haven't seen any coming in yet because Dovile will be chairing that discussion just after a few more talks.